At 7:42 a.m. on August 17, 1943, Technical Sergeant James McKenna crouched beneath the left wing of a P-38 Lightning at Dubadura Airfield, New Guinea. The metal above him was already warm from the rising sun. He watched his pilot prepare for a mission McKenna suspected he might not survive. The pilot was Lieutenant Robert Hayes, 23 years old, 6 combat missions, 0 kills. 18 Mitsubishi A6M Zeros had been reported inbound to intercept the morning patrol. Hayes would be flying straight into them. McKenna had been maintaining P-38s for 8 months. He knew the aircraft intimately. Twin-engine fighter, twin-boom design, fast in a straight line, deadly at altitude. In the right conditions, the P-38 was a beast. But it had one fatal flaw. It could not turn with a Zero. The Japanese A6M was lighter, more agile, brutally efficient in a horizontal turning fight. A Zero could complete a full turn in nearly half the time a P-38 required. In a dogfight, that difference meant death. American doctrine was clear. P-38 pilots were never to turn with a Zero, never try to outmaneuver it. Use speed. Use altitude. Dive, fire, climb away. Hit and run. Do not get pulled into a turning engagement. Hayes had followed that doctrine on 5 missions. It had not worked. The Zeros were smart. Their pilots understood American tactics. They baited P-38s into turns, reversed inside their turning radius, slid onto their tails, and shot them down. In the previous 6 weeks, the 5th Air Force had lost 37 P-38s in New Guinea alone. McKenna had watched too many pilots die. Good men. Kids, really. They climbed into their aircraft with confidence and either came back in boxes or did not come back at all. The official explanation was always the same pilot error. Instructors said the pilots had failed to follow doctrine. McKenna knew better. The problem was not the pilots. It was the control cables. The P-38's aileron control cables ran through the twin booms to the tail section, then forward through a series of pulleys to the wing control surfaces. The system met factory specifications, but it had slack, not much, roughly 3/8 of an inch at full deflection. That tiny amount of slack created a delay between stick movement and aileron response. At high speed, it barely mattered. At low speed, in a hard-turning fight, it was fatal. That fraction of a second, the pause between command and response, was the difference between rolling inside a Zero's turn and being perfectly led by Japanese cannon fire. McKenna had raised the issue 2 months earlier with the engineering officer. The response was immediate and final. Cable tension was within specification. Factory tolerances allowed for that slack. Changing it would void the aircraft warranty. Field mechanics were not authorized to modify flight control systems. Engineering approval would be required. Lockheed was 7,000 miles away in California. So McKenna did something that violated every regulation in the Army Air Force's maintenance manual. He acted. The first pilot McKenna lost to a Zero was Lieutenant David Chen. July 9, 1943. Chen had been in theater 3 weeks. McKenna worked on his aircraft every morning. They talked about California. Chen from Sacramento, McKenna from Long Beach. Both had worked on cars before the war. Chen took off at 06615 on a fighter sweep near Rabaul. He returned 2 hours later with 3 bullet holes clustered in his left boom. Chen said a Zero had gotten inside his turn. He had tried to roll out and dive away as the manual instructed, but the aircraft felt slow to respond, like the airplane hesitated before obeying. Only his wingman shooting the Zero off his tail had saved him. McKenna studied the bullet holes. Tight grouping. Perfect deflection shooting. The Zero pilot had known exactly where Chen's aircraft would be. 3 weeks later, Chen was killed flying another P-38 over Rabaul. Same circumstances, same outcome. Then came Captain William Morrison, a flight leader, 11 confirmed kills, experienced, skilled. On August 3, Morrison's flight intercepted 8 Zeros at 12,000 feet over Oro Bay. Morrison destroyed one on the first pass. 2 Zeros reversed on him during his second attack. Radio recordings later captured his final moments. Morrison attempted to roll inverted and perform a splits escape. His last words included a single phrase, "My controls feel mushy." The Zeros stayed with him through the maneuver and shot him down at 4,000 feet. Morrison's aircraft was recovered and inspected. Everything was within specification. The report again concluded pilot error. By mid-August, McKenna had watched 17 pilots die. The survivors told the same story. A slight lag, a delay. The feeling that the airplane was always a fraction of a second behind their intentions. Most pilots assumed that was normal. A heavy fighter, large control surfaces. Some delay was expected. McKenna knew it was not. He could hear it. When he tensioned the control cables during maintenance, he plucked them with his fingers. Tight cables produced a sharp metallic twang. Loose cables produced a dull, lower tone. Every P-38 on the line sounded slightly loose, within spec, but wrong. On the evening of August 16, Lieutenant Hayes came to the maintenance area. He found McKenna working on his assigned aircraft. Hayes asked a simple question. "Is there anything you can do to make it roll faster?" He did not care if it was regulation. He just wanted a chance to survive. McKenna told him to come back in the morning. That night, McKenna worked alone. The hangar was quiet after 200-300 hours. The air smelled of oil, metal, and tropical humidity. In the distance, generators hummed. Insects buzzed against the lights. He removed the inspection panel from the left boom and pulled on the aileron cable. The slack was unmistakable. From a salvaged P-38 written off weeks earlier, McKenna retrieved a 6-inch length of high, tensile piano wire. He bent it carefully into a Z shape using pliers. The metal fought him. On the second attempt, the wire slipped and cut his thumb. Blood smeared across the steel. He wiped it away and kept going. The Z-shaped wire would act as an inline tensioner, adding a small preload, less than half a pound, to the cable. Enough to eliminate the slack entirely. Installation took 8 minutes. The space inside the boom was tight. He worked one-handed, flashlight clenched in the other, dropped the clevis pin once, and spent 5 minutes feeling blindly until he found it. When the cable was reconnected, he pulled again. No slack. The control surface moved instantly. McKenna closed the panel at 01:15 and walked out into the humid night. He had just violated multiple regulations, installed a non-standard part, and modified a flight control system without authorization. If it failed, Hayes would die, and McKenna would be responsible. If it worked, a young pilot might live. At 07:42 the next morning, Hayes took off. The engagement began at 080 over the Huan Gulf. Hayes' flight intercepted 9 Zeros at 13,000 feet, sun at their backs. Hayes selected a trailing aircraft and dove. At 380 miles per hour, he fired. The Zero rolled and dove. Hayes rolled to follow. The P-38 responded instantly. No delay, no hesitation. Hayes fired again. A 3-second burst. The Zero's engine exploded. 3 Zeros then dove on him from above. Instead of running, Hayes reversed hard left. The P-38 snapped around. The Zero did not expect it. Hayes destroyed 2 more aircraft in under a minute. The 4th Zero fled. When Hayes landed at 09:03, McKenna was waiting. Hayes climbed out, hands shaking. It worked. 6 other pilots had seen everything. Within days, the modification spread quietly through the squadron. Then through others. No paperwork. No authorization, just piano wire and whispered instructions. Keel ratios shifted. Japanese pilots noticed. Even Saburo Sakai, one of Japan's greatest aces, nearly died after misjudging a P-38's roll rate. The change was invisible, hidden inside the boom. By September, the Zero was no longer dominant. In October, Lockheed engineers finally confirmed the modification's effectiveness. A similar tensioning system was quietly incorporated into later PD-38 models. McKenna received no credit. He returned home after the war and opened a garage in Long Beach. Never talked much about what he had done. Robert Hayes survived the war. Flew 63 missions, shot down 11 aircraft. Every year on August 17, he called McKenna to say thank you. James McKenna died in 2006. His obituary listed him as an aircraft mechanic. It did not mention the piano wire. That is how innovation actually happens in war. Not in committee rooms, but in hangars late at night by people willing to break the rules to save lives. If you love this story and want more history that shocks, inspires, and motivates, subscribe to Rising Warfare. Like this video and explore the incredible tales we uncover. More amazing content is coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss it.